I'll start again. Sexual exploitation by police officers is the most serious corruption issue facing the service, according to the police watchdog, Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary. An inspection of police forces in England and Wales has revealed that more than 300 officers and staff have been accused over a 2-year period of using their position to sexually exploit people, including victims of crime. Inspector Mike Cunningham led the review and says it's likely that the problem is more serious than the numbers show.
The indications are, and we received information from forces that told us over a 2-year period there were 436 allegations of such behaviour, but that is potentially the tip of the iceberg. Because the recording of these matters is not consistent, we believe that is not an accurate picture. And what we are saying is at the heart of our report, which is generally positive actually about policing and how they build the trust and confidence of communities, at the heart of this issue, at the heart of our report, is this corrosive issue of officers abusing their authority to exploit vulnerable women.
Well, the National Police Chiefs Council lead for counter-corruption is Chief Constable Stephen Watson. Does he agree it's the most significant corruption challenge facing the police?
I think it is. We do confront, of course, a number of corrupting influences, but I think the quality of this sort of behaviour is so reprehensible and constitutes such a betrayal of what we stand for that it's quite right to describe it as the most serious form of corruption that we face. We treat it as serious corruption, and that is the spirit with which we approach the problem.
According to HMIC, the police watchdog, some forces are still failing to recognise it as corruption.
I certainly accept that too many inconsistencies remain between forces. In fairness, I do think that HMIC are recognising that much progress has been made, and there are a number of pockets of really good practice across the country in terms of both our approach proactively to targeting and pursuing offenders, and I use the word offender quite deliberately, as well as preventing this sort of behaviour. But where HMIC fairly make recommendations, which we absolutely accept, is that there are too many inconsistencies between forces. There are...
Especially when this was flagged 4 years ago and HMIC say not enough has been done.
In fairness, I don't think HMIC are saying nothing has been done.
No,
I think
not enough has been done, I said.
Yes, and in respect of that, I absolutely accept it, as does the service, which is why we are urgently pursuing a piece of work, which is to capture those elements of good practice that occur in many local police forces, as is evidenced within HMIC's report, and binding all of that best practice into one place, so that the whole service operates to the standard of the best.
I want to talk to you about good practice, and I'd like to give you some examples, all from this year, from the College of Policing website.
Yes.
Wiltshire Police Constable, sexual relationship with a vulnerable female witness. A Met Police Constable convicted of voyeurism. A Devon and Cornwall Police Constable engaged in sexual relations with women he met in the course of his duties. A West Mercia Constable contacted vulnerable female victims and engaged in texts of a sexual nature. Thames Valley Police Constable, this officer abused his position as a police officer in that he researched police systems to obtain personal data for a woman in order to identify her place of work and other details. He then went to her place of work whilst on duty, purporting to be there for a policing purpose, gaining further personal information about her. I mean, good practice is... I don't understand how it's not obvious to every single employee of police forces in England and Wales that that's clearly an abuse of trust.
It is absolutely clearly abuse of trust, and those examples that you give are absolutely reprehensible. But what I would say, there is no good news in this, but there are some crumbs of comfort to be obtained by the fact that the College of Policing will tell you, if you look at their disapproval register, that over 75% of all of these cases have come through internal reporting and internal intelligence development.
Well, I don't know how that is a consolation to any of the victims.
It isn't a consolation to the victims because these things should be prevented in the first instance. I absolutely accept that. But the point I'm making is that this isn't something that the service is approaching in a passive way. Those individuals, rightly brought to book and thrown out of the service, are being brought to book in the main because officers and staff in the police service are as appalled as anyone by this sort of practice. And I reiterate the point. This is reprehensible behaviour, and it comprises an absolute betrayal of the public, and we will not stand for it. But we do recognise and absolutely accept HMIC's recommendations that too much inconsistency continues to persist between forces.
What I don't understand, Chief Constable Watson, and I wonder if you can help me here, is how a trained police officer cannot see that that kind of behaviour is unethical and immoral. I mean, we're talking about grooming, stalking, abusive people the police is supposed to be helping.
I don't think, with respect, Victoria, that there's any suggestion that any of those officers conducting themselves in that way necessarily thought that they weren't doing anything wrong. I mean, let's be clear, these people are offenders and they are behaving in an unacceptable way. The fact of the matter is, it's those who brought them to book who are the people who did see that this was unforgivable behaviour. Unfortunately, like any other walk of life, we do have individuals within the police service who will behave in this way, and we need to target them, and we need to root them out, and we need to kick them out of the service. And that is precisely what we have been doing and what we intend to do. And this is where we do welcome HMIC's recommendations, because clearly we have more to do.